والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه الكرام ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد فالسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you and I in this world and in the akhirah, and always find it in His infinite mercy to have mercy on us and our families, forgive our sins and grant us all places in Jannatul Firdaus. Ameen. We'd like to invite everyone who is outside, brothers, sisters, children, to come inside, please. Can somebody just go outside and remind the others too that it's time to come inside? Inshallah ta'ala, in the few minutes that I have, I will try to first, and I ask of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among His sincere servants, to first remind myself, then you, of something of Allah's deen, with the hope that with His mercy and guidance would get us all closer to Him. And brothers and sisters, all of this being said in one voice would not make a difference unless we are sincere people. Our hearts are aligned with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we are working continuously to be sincere servants of His. Inshallah ta'ala, in the few minutes that I have, I would like to talk a little bit about some things that we can help with in order to make our society a much safer place. In light of what happened during the week in Parkland with the tragic shooting, first we'd like to convey our condolences and sympathy to families who lost members, and for those who have injured family members as a result of what happened. Now, all of us should take a step back, because this is happening in our own backyard. And many of us, when we read and we hear about these things happening in other parts of the country and the world, we tend to think that we are very far off from it. And we are protected. We have protective mechanisms that this will not touch us nor our families. And let us not be fooled. In today's world, we are all vulnerable. And we are all open potential victims for such a behavior unless we work on changing things. Normally when these things happen, we normally have live debates, and people start rehashing what should be controlled and what should not be controlled, and what are the causes. Very few people, even the experts on TV, would actually allude to the reality that one of the greatest contributing factors to this is that family values are lost. And as a result of that, we have lost control in most facets of our lives. And Islam is very big on this. And we need to go back to what our deen dictated for us in order to get this corrected. Normally when things like this happen, people start talking about weapons of mass destruction, talking about violence, gun control, but I want to give you one little insight. Gun control is not going anywhere. There's too much of money involved in it, there's too much of influences, and there are too many people who don't want it. So, like everything else that is a potential weapon for mass destruction, and let us think seriously of this. Let us not treat it passively, because it may affect us soon. Can you imagine you send your children to school, or your spouse or a family member of yours going to work, and next thing you know, they're coming back home in a body bag. Or they're coming back with the news that the next time you would see them is that when they are placed in a coffin to be buried. And that is not easy for anyone, be it Muslim or non-Muslim. Can the brothers in the back here, the kids, put away the gadgets that they have? Yes. And one of the biggest contributing factor to this is the problems that we have in front of us, and we need to address it seriously. This is something that not only affects non-Muslims nor Muslims, it affects every human being. And if you have a heart of mercy and kindness, it will definitely be the seed of destruction for your own well-being, because you can become very stressed out about all of this. Now, with this being said, I would like to be very blunt tonight, because it's a reminder to me, and it hurts me as it hurts you. And all of us need to get to the reality of this. Many people are talking that we should control this and we should control that. Everything is a potential weapon of mass destruction. It can be your car, it can be your bicycle, your motorcycle, a piece of wood in your hand, a piece of metal in your hand, your tongue, your hands. The mere uttering of the command over the people that you have control over, say to kill this one or oppress that one, your tongue has then become a weapon of mass destruction. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned us about this in many respects. But today, many people have this view of Islam. Islam came to be a standard that all of us have to live up to and reach. It's the benchmark that we're supposed to establish. What we do with Islam today is that all of us are trying to bring Islam down to our standards and bring it to our doorsteps. So when it comes into our homes, it is a version of Islam that we want, that suits us. It is a version of Islam that applies to our thinking. It is a version of Islam that applies to our setting. It is a version of Islam that applies to our status. And that is one of the biggest problems. So that's why today we have more than 100 million, more than 1 billion version of Islam. Because almost every Muslim wants their own version. And if you should tell a man, Allah and His Rasul say so, say, brother, I'm accustomed doing it like this and I will continue like this. In the days of the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, if a man is to utter those words, you know what he would be considered? If you're telling him that that is the authority, the Allah and His Rasul, and that should be followed, and you're saying no, that I would choose to follow something else, he would be referred to as a hypocrite. Double standard. So today everyone wants to bring Islam down to their level. So that's why Islam is so diluted that we don't even know the difference between how authentic it is and how non-authentic it is. And that is the difficulties that we have. This vicious cycle is so wicked that the adults are in this world and they want to make it like this. So the kids have no other alternative but this vicious cycle. So if we want to stop this vicious cycle of not understanding what our roles are and how we should be Muslims and how we should live up to the standards of Islam, then we have to start with our children. And we are hoping that that cycle would stop. So everything that you possess can be a form of mass destruction. It doesn't matter what it is. It can become very, very brutal. But you know what controls it? The problem is the mindset, the psyche of the individual. And if you and I don't get that correct, everything else can become destructive. But when the mind started to think destructive, that is why all of us, and that is when all of us are potential victims of brutality. So we need to find out how we put a stop to this. You see the things that we're experiencing today? Nudity, the form of entertainment that is outside and is well accepted by the world, right? The more exposed the individuals are, the more entertaining it is. The more vulgar you can express yourselves, the more accepted you become. Those were the same things that were happening in the days of the Prophet ﷺ, and Allah decided to send Muhammad ﷺ. The only difference today is that, you know what, we are a little more advanced in how we do it. But the nature of the crime, the nature of the immoral acts, the nature of the corruption is still the same. The difference is that the Prophet ﷺ was sent by Allah, and he was sent as what? Allah addressed the world. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Muhammad, I send you not but as a source of mercy to the world. So the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is mercy. And the more you distance yourself from that, the more you're distancing yourself from the mercy of Allah. If Allah says, I send Muhammad as mercy, and you tell people, many people are saying, oh, it is only sunnah, it is only sunnah. So it's okay, we can leave it on the side. No, that is not the option that we have with sunnah. The sunnah is that if we have the potential, we do as much as we can. We don't have the ability to do all of it, but we can do what we can. That with which we can do, we should not make it distasteful and dismiss it and disregard it and saying it is only sunnah. The more you distance yourself from that, the more you're distancing yourself from Allah's mercy. And all of us need His mercy. So, our little message here tonight is a couple of things that can make us a little better. One of the things that we need to do, all of us, and this is a reminder to myself first, all of us need to find out what are the valuables we possess. The number one of everything that is considered to be valuable to you and I, the number one possession is our children. And they are the only source of possession that have the capability to survive beyond us and to be part of our legacy. And as Muslims, our legacy is not what we do, but our legacy is Allah's Tawheed, Allah's message. The Prophet ﷺ and Islam recommends that a man should be so cautious about this aspect of his affairs that he should investigate, or she should investigate, the choices of spouse even before marriage. Because Allah says in Surah Ar-Rum, chapter 30 of the Quran, verse number 21, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Allah says this, that verily from His signs He created from our mates, لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, so that we may gain sakina, tranquility, peace, not common habitation, not a show. Oh, I have a beautiful husband, handsome husband, I have a beautiful wife, my kids are well groomed and they're well educated. That was not the purpose. You know what? لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, so that we may gain tranquility, and our homes should not be pit stops for us, but it should be a place where our children are taught how to respect adults, how to respect their parents, how to respect their grandparents, how to love and recognize Allah, how to come and recognize and respect the sanctity of the masjid, respect nature. You know what is one of the emphasis with some Orientals? Is that their children by age 10 should understand their surrounding. You know why? So that they can live in harmony with it. Not that they may have more knowledge. And Islam taught us this. So the first thing we should do is examine ourselves. And if Allah blesses us with children, try to make sure our children understand how they should behave, how they should be able to establish that which Allah says. And that is very easy. Allah give all of us that capability. That is very common. There's nothing more common than the ability to learn who Allah is in life. And the Prophet ﷺ recommends that you and I use the qualification available to us to choose our spouse, because then that would help with the mercy and the guidance of Allah to determine success in our lives. Hassan al-Basri, once a man came to him with his infant child and said, Shaykh, tell me what I can do to make this child a servant of Allah, an outstanding servant. He said, brother, you're late. That decision started when you decided to choose the mother. So yes, family values is one of the things that is very important in this deen, and it is one of the most neglected today. Today, most of our homes are treated as pit stops for those who understand this term. Right? Our kids come home, they drop their school bags, they take a shower or they get something to eat, they're told to rest, get your homework done, take a shower and go to bed. I don't know how many parents emphasize or make sure that they pray their salah. Then they go to bed, get up the next day, continue the same cycle. On weekends, they can't get up early because during the week they get up, they wake up very early to go to school, so they have to sleep in on Saturdays and Sundays. So can you imagine your child is being indoctrinated like this for years? When they grow up, what do you think? They want to pray Salatul Fajr? So when you will bring them to the masjid now and you tell them they need to pray, parents are saying, well, my children think that the Salah is very boring. People actually come to the imam and say, brother, don't leave the salah too long, the kids get bored. That is not my problem. So if they're being taught at home to continue the cycle, just use your house as a place to come take a shower, eat, rejuvenate yourself, and go back to the world. Parents do that too. I don't know how many parents have this exercise in their home, that every day they would sit every day with their children for 15-20 minutes, ask them what they did today, how was their day, what did you learn, who did you encounter, what did people tell you. All those things help your children. How many of us do it? How many of us, when we took the decision to get married, instead of concentrating on choosing the spouse, husband or wife, and when we settled and we decided on a spouse, we tell our spouse, you know what, if Allah bless us with children, this is of importance to us. Every day we have to sit with our children for 15-20 minutes and try to teach them and educate them who Allah is and how they should behave towards us, our parents, and how they should behave towards their siblings. I don't know too many parents who do that. That would make a remarkable difference if it is done every day. From infancy, they grow up. Children go back to what they are accustomed to. And they go back to old habits. They will definitely be something. Most of these things, when they happen and they do background investigation, you know what they observe? The perpetrators were either neglected, lack of attention, their parents ignored them completely, there was no sense of direction in their lives, and they wanted attention. So they do things that would bring attention to them. And you know what? Those minds are very difficult to change, because that is what they were oriented with from very young. So if we teach our children Allah, we teach our children mannerism, we teach our children values, then inshallah they will grow up with that. Because that would be the only thing that they know. And trust me, you don't have to be an educated parent. You don't have to have a degree. Every parent that I know, and I'm pretty sure you know of, wants good for his or her child. So obviously with the little that you know, you would encourage them to do that which is good. But you need to be consistent with it. Rather than exposing your children, because this is what is happening. People make decisions to have children, but they have no plan how to care for them. They have no plan how to educate them. So what they decided to do, the easiest thing to do is to push them off to somebody else who can take care of them. You know what you're doing with your child? You're actually giving your child the ways to destruction. Because they would adopt everything that they're exposed to on the outside. And when you try to get them to be in line, and the lines that you're trying to draw for them, they're not accustomed to, they would rebel. Most children get yelled at for doing things they were not told they're not supposed to do. But it is expected. Because you live in this house, this is how you should behave. But they were never told how they should behave. And when they behave contrary to your expectation, without your education, then it becomes very acrimonious between you and them. But sit down and teach them every day from smalls. Teach them 15-20 minutes. You drive them to the masjid, don't get busy on your cell phone, don't listen to the radio, and don't get involved in sports or listen to other things. Talk to them to the masjid. You come to the masjid, enter with your right foot. You see someone, give them salam. You see garbage in the masjid, pick it up. You know what these things will teach them? Humbleness. And by virtue of them being humble to the rest of the world, they will be humble to you. We should teach our children from very small. They should not make mockery of other people. I witness children making mockery of people. It doesn't matter what their condition is. They can be beggars, but you have no right to laugh at them. You don't know what this vicious cycle of life would bring towards you. And then parents would stand up and they would laugh with them too. Instead of stopping them and say, you know, that's an old person, you don't understand his condition, you don't know his situation, so don't make mockery out of it. And Allah says in Surah Al-Hujurat, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la yaskhar qawmun min qawmin asa an yakunu khayran minhum. O you who believe, do not make mockery out of other people. With the hope that you know what, you think that you're better than them. And this is verse number 11 from chapter 49, Surah Al-Hujurat. So brothers and sisters, all those things to be teaching. You know what amazes me? People would say that they're peer pressure in school. The kids face this kind of pressure. Yes, if the mindset of the child is not properly prepared, everything would be problematic. You talking to the child would be problematic too. So it all goes back to the home. Our home is supposed to be our strictest school. Our parents are supposed to be our best teachers. And like the man who came to Umar ibn Khattab and he was complaining about his father. He said that my father gave me a name that it is a source of ridicule for me. People make mockery out of me because of the name that I have. My father never taught me to read the Quran. So Umar ibn Khattab sent for the father and he told him that your son here have a few complaints against you. First, he said that the name that you give to him is a source of ridicule. And one of the first things that we should do for our children is to make sure they have a name with a proper meaning that hopefully they can live to represent the meaning of the name that we give to them. The recommendation of the Prophet ﷺ, name your children something which begins with Abd, Abdullah, Abdul Rahman, Abdul Kareem. Not to say that it is not okay to call them Khalid or Jamil, but we choose a name that with the hope that inshallah the child would be a representation of that particular quality. Can you imagine people come up to you, Muslims, and tell you, I named my child after this cricketer. I know I looked at this Indian movie and I like this actor, and that's how I give this child this name. So what do you think the child would become? You have no thought process, no plan, no consideration for Allah, but you expect mercy from Allah. And all these things, and Umar ibn Khattab, he told him, and your son said you never taught him to read the Quran. And know that you have denied your son one of the basic rights of life. You did not educate him to handle the world. So we have our responsibilities cut out. It is not only to provide games for them. It is not only to provide stuff that would make them happy. And happiness in the dunya don't mean happiness in the akhirah. And yes, if you bring your child to the masjid and you can't get them to pray in the masjid with you, and you can't get them to come and listen to the salah or listen to the lecture, and you say that they're bored, I'll be very blunt with you. You know why that is happening? Because the kids or the children are not accustomed to that at home. Because whatever children are accustomed to, they learn to stick with. So if they're accustomed praying at home, they're accustomed you calling them to pray with them, when they come with you in the public, they will adhere to that. So yes, we need to spend time with our children. We need to make sure that they're given the proper attention. We need to make sure that they're entertained the right way. And we should be our children's best friend. Not our neighbors, not our maulanas, not our sheikhs, and not people at the masjid. All those things are wrong. The Prophet ﷺ used to have his grandsons with him in the masjid. He didn't say, well, Abu Bakr is a good companion of mine. That's a good influence. He can be in company of him. No, he had them with him. You are the best caretaker of your children. And furthermore, whenever these things happen, try to listen to the news and find out what are the causes. Now they're saying if this was a Muslim, it doesn't matter what his mental state was. He was definitely a terrorist. But because this one here now is not a Muslim, then there are other issues that are coming up, and you know what? Slowly they're exposing their weaknesses and the ill effects of the society. So that is what we should listen to, and to find out that, and to conclude, are these the people you want to imitate, that have all these major problems and they can't handle it? Now they're saying that the kid was bullied in school, he grew up in a foster situation, he was denied attention, and all these things you're seeking. Islam gave us this. And this is something that, brothers, we should not deny ourselves. Don't bring Islam to your doorsteps the way you want your Islam to be. Bring Islam to your doors that it would be a source of change, to be better for you and your family and all of us. And that means we have to study a little bit. The next thing I want to emphasize in the few minutes that I have, and this is a great concern for me as a Muslim. right? And many people may say, well, you want to talk about this all the time, but it is a great concern to us. And it is becoming a little more destructive to our situation. If our children are our best possession, and they are the people who would be entrusted to carry on our legacy, then we have to examine that and see what kind of legacy we want to see in our existence. We want to see a lethargic legacy, we want to see a lazy legacy, we want to see a fulfilled legacy, we want to see an honest legacy, and based on that we should make determination. The one thing I want to emphasize is that if we don't respect anything else, we should teach our children when they come to these places, to see these walls, they should respect them to the utmost. These places are called the houses of Allah. It is where people are supposed to come and feel the safest. It is where people are supposed to come and feel more connected to Allah, not disconnected. It is where people are supposed to come and learn how to get closer to Allah, not distance themselves from Allah. It is here where people are supposed to come and observe activities that would help them to get better in life, not worse. Today people come to the masjid and Ramadan is coming again. And in my short life that I lived so far, subhanAllah, I never really experienced a Ramadan without social problems. People come to the masjid and they want to behave how they want to behave. And they want to be an example how they want to be an example. But these houses are called waqf. And they're called the houses of Allah. And they have rules and regulation that governs them. They have expectations. They have realistic goals that should be realized from them. It is not a place where we come and assemble. That is a place, next door is a place for that. That is why people go back outside and behave the way they behave. This is a place that you come to, I come to. That when we come here and we leave, our behavior should be different. If the first thing about our masajid is that they have to be waqf and it is owned by Allah. It is owned by the community. It's not by an individual. If someone is telling you they're going to a masjid and the deed of that masjid is in an individual's name, it is not the house of Allah. If it is in Muhammad's name or Mooneer's name, it is Baitul Mooneer. Baitul Muhammad. It is not the Baitul Law. And if you pray to that, then you're contributing to that reality. That is why these places, when we come to, whatever, when Allah and His Rasul is being discussed, everyone should pay respect to that. You know what the historians say about those who were making noises when the Prophet ﷺ was preaching Islam to the public? Like when he was in Makkah and he gained revelation, he was getting revelation and he would go to the public and try to encourage people to follow Allah and to listen to what he had to say that came to him as revelation. And then there'll be one group of people on this side that will be having their own conversation, be having their own activities, and will be conducting their own business, and then it becomes a distraction to what he says. You know what the historians say about that? That's a sign of hypocrisy. So you can't have two things because this is mercy. You can't come to the masjid and have two agendas. One is playing and one is studying. All of us study. When it's prayer time, all of us pray. Our children should be taught when they hear the azan, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. It means adhering to the standards of Allah. Not now it's only sunnah to respond to that. They should be taught to sit down and listen to the words. Repeat the words. Teach them the dua, because it is the only time that you would benefit from the intercession of the Prophet ﷺ. All these things we should teach them and see if they won't adhere to it. But you sit outside, the azan is calling, people continue their own business. The kids would do the same. So what do we expect? You come, you have a lecture in the masjid talking about Allah and His Rasul and how to go to Jannah, and we have major distraction and people are sitting. It doesn't matter if a parent bring their children with that expectation, they should be told, brother, this place has rules. And Allah's rules govern this. And when Allah and His Rasul is being discussed, or prayers are in progress, then all of us have to adhere to that. After the prayers are over and after the lecture is over, then we can play all night. No problem. But think of the situation seriously. Let us not be involved in situations where we are setting double standards for our kids. It's a failed example. And no, kids don't have to have everything that they demand. Today, you know how parents behave? Their children's request is their commands. Whatever they say they want, we give it to them. That is corrupting the child. That is not true. We as adults, we have to interject discipline and told them when it's wrong and when it's right. Commend them when it's right and correct them when it's wrong. And we should be forceful, because corrective measures would never be effective unless there is strong enforcement. And we should only correct things based on what Allah and His Rasul say. We should not deny people their rights, because we think they should not have it. It should be based on what Allah and His Rasul said. That is the justification. So brothers, we need to encourage, teach our children. And if we teach them to respect these places known as the houses of Allah, the masajid, they would respect everything else on the outside. But if they come here and learn to disrespect Allah's salah, conform the salah, and then they're outside. It doesn't matter if they're in a state of wudu or not. Tell them to come and pray. After the salam, they can do what they want to do. If there is a lecture, they should be encouraged to sit and listen. After that, they can go and do whatever they want to. And these are the sources that we need to correct. We need to be close to our children. Don't tell yourself that you're physically close because you're living in the same house with them, and you're sharing the same room, and you're sharing the same kitchen, and you share the same living room. You're only physically close, but emotionally you are way off. There are people who they communicate with on their phones, on their little gadgets, that they feel more connected to emotionally than you, and they are farther away from them. You ever ask why? Because that is an accepted and a welcome source of communication. That is what your kids want. That is what our kids want. Someone to listen to them, someone to talk to them, someone to give them a little bit of attention, someone to give them a little bit of love. Shouting at them will not make a difference. And do not accuse your children and yell at them for doing the things that you expect them not to do, and you didn't educate them about it. Educate them about it over and over, and they will comply. And that is something that we need to talk to our kids all the time about. I would be very alarmed if 50% of the parents in the Muslim world do sit with their children 5 minutes a week to teach them about Allah. I would be very, very happy and impressed if that is the reality. So how can we expect good when we are not willing to put good in place? And it starts with us. And that is the bottom line. So all these things that you see are happening can be avoided. Even the non-Muslim world is saying that. There are people who are talking, you know what is missing in the world? Family values. Children don't have respect for their parents. Children don't have respect for elders. Children don't have respect for their siblings. And as parents, I would like you to sit down. If you think that Islam is not good for your children, if Islam says to teach your children mercy, teach them compassion, teach them obedience, teach them respect, and you're saying that is antiquated and good, I would like you, when you go home, take time off, a few minutes per day, and look at the children's show that your children is looking at, that is now orienting their minds, and is now being a source of influence to them, because that is the information that is being given to them. And look at the older children and the shows that they look at, right? And then you would see that everything, almost every show, I don't know of a children's show that is not oriented in such a way to influence your child's mind to think for himself or herself. So the children become very selfish. They're taught that you should fight for whatever you want, right or wrong, and you should be able to get what you want. That is not necessarily acceptable in every situation. That is why you get bullying. The children learn to discriminate from that. And very young children from 2-3 years old, you know what the shows are trying to get them to do and how to think? They should start thinking intimately with the opposite. Ask your children and sit down and look at them. Why do you think they have color codes and color schemes and cartoons? It is not to make it brighter. There is a lesson in that, right? As they get older, their video games teach them aggression. And if I can't have my way, then I should fight to have my way. And none of the messages are compatible to their age and what they need. So brothers, don't fool yourself and think that you're pacifying. In a way, you're selling your children cheaply to the same standard that we are all fighting. But if we teach them compassion, we teach them respect, and we teach them who Allah and His Rasul is, then we don't have to worry. Isn't that why the Rasul ﷺ was taught to tell us that by age 10 they should know how to pray? Know to pray is not only knowing the Fatiha and knowing the different aspects of the Salah. It's to understand why you pray. Know the meaning of the Salah. Why you institute prayer. What purpose is supposed to serve in your life. All those things you're supposed to know by age 10. And don't tell me they're too young to know, because I can tell you, your children 4 or 5 years old, if they are brave enough to sit and conversate with you, you would be surprised at the things they would be able to tell you. You would be shocked. And from tonight on, for those who never did, tomorrow when they're playing their video games, and you think, sit and look at the games and see what they are being taught. What kind of a behavior they're being taught. And obviously, that is filling a void, because it is what information it is given to them, that is how they will think. So obviously, if they're being fed that all the time, they will start thinking like that. And all of us should try to excuse our children. Please put away that phone. Right? The masjid is not a place for that. So with this, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for you and I, and brothers and sisters, we are all in this together, and we need to work to make it easy. It takes a village to raise a child, and all of us should recognize that. We should make this masjid our village here, where we come and we get the best out of it. And with this, I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you and I in this dunya and the akhirah, and to always find it in His infinite mercy to have mercy on us. In conclusion, look how beautiful it looks. Our kids are sitting here quietly rather than previously they're outside playing. Ask all these kids when they leave here tonight if they didn't learn something. All it took is 15 to 20 minutes and some discipline from some adults to get them here. And if this continues consistently, in 2-3 years they would know something about their deen. And that is all we need to do. Be practical and consistent. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.